Hey guys, Kevin Yates here, and today got my bat because I'm going to show you my 1-2 way we're going to swing and knock low back pain right out of the park. Alright, so if you've got low back pain or you're training a client with low back pain, yeah, that was kind of cheesy with the bat, I know. Anyway, low back pain. So I'm going to show you a way to assess the cause of low back pain in yourself or your clients, and some couple corrective strategies you can use to knock it right out, okay? So what we've got to understand with low back pain, in most of the cases, there's a couple things responsible for it. At least one of these two. One, weakness of the abdominal complex, which we know is no real surprise, we've all heard it, but there's a huge mistake that people are making all the time, and they're getting it completely wrong with how they're trying to strengthen the abdominal complex. So I'm going to show you what that is, and what not to do, and then what to do instead. So the other is weakness of the hip complex. So the abdominal complex and the hip complex, they're kind of provide a force couple to stabilize the trunk and hip, right? So let's look at it. First thing we want to do, assess, because if we don't assess, then we're just making a guess, right? So we're going to assess first. What we're going to do is we're going to put either you or your client down in a modified dead bug. So you're on the floor, arms out to the side, palms up, legs are going to be up. You want a straight line from the hip up through the knee, pretty much. So no legs forward, no legs all the way back. And what you're going to do is hold this position for 60 seconds. Okay? It's going to be quite a long hold. Now, what you want to do is make sure you're looking all the time at what's going on, observing. So I'm going to go through typically what will happen. And it may not be all these things, but just kind of some things to look at. You might see one of them, might see none of them. But the thing you're looking for is when the legs start to drop. So when those legs start to drop, you want to make sure that you visually see what's happening, and also make sure that you understand what you or your client is feeling at that time, because that is almost always going to happen when the abdominal complex starts giving out, and the lower back and a lot of times the quadriceps or the hip flexors or even both of those will start to work together. So what they'll feel is, ask them, what are you feeling, Mrs. Smith? Oh, I'm feeling my low back starting to work. I'm feeling some cramping in the hip or some burning in my thighs. All right, so it'll be along the lines of that. That almost always will happen. Another thing to look for, they start to lose it, they might try to compensate by pulling the legs up toward their head. And that's a classic sign of overcompensation with the hip flexors and overcompensation, or I should say overcompensation of the rectus abdominis. Why is that a bad thing? Well, it's not real bad, but it's not an ideal thing, and I'll go through that with you as well. So you just want to make note of it. Another thing you're watching for when they're laying down is their lower back. If their lower back starts to lift, you want to make note of that, right? So low back starts to lift, weakness of the abdominal complex, legs start to drop, same thing, and so those are things you're looking for. Okay, so now once you've identified what's going on, you've got everything you need. Remember, I talked about having or knowing the whole story of what's going on with your client, so you can really design effective exercise programs. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, the thing that I see most people doing completely wrong all the time when they're trying to strengthen the abdominal complex is doing crunches or doing like curl-ups, kind of the same thing, right? And I'll tell you why that's completely wrong. Because if you are trying to strengthen your abdominal complex and all you're doing is training your body to flex forward and crunch all the time, doing this, what are you going to do when you try and brace yourself? Like if you try and lift something that's heavy off the ground, right? You're going to flex your body forward, round the shoulders, round the back. All right, and that's completely opposite of what we should be doing. We don't lift anything and stabilize our bodies with a rounded back, right? Because that is a way to make our low back pain worse. So what we're looking to do is to get the abdominal complex working while we're up nice and tall in a neutral position. Okay, so what we're going to do is go back into an arm raise. So version 1 of the arm raise, we're right here and here, arms up. The goal is to keep the low back flat on the floor the whole time and raise the arms down and right back up with control. So only as far as the arms can go without losing contact with the low back and the floor. The other thing you want to do is palpate and make sure that the abdominal complex is working, okay? So those two things, make sure that they're only feeling in there. And when the abdominal complex is being felt like that, then all those, the burning in the thighs and the cramping in the hips and the low back pain are gonna, boom, be knocked right out. Okay, but it's not always easy to get it. So if you can't get it or your client can't get it in that position with the legs up, then you do a regression model with the heels on the ground, knees are a little bit bent here to here, and you go through the same thing. Okay, the arm raised with there. But the trick with that one is sometimes it's harder because there's tendency to use the feet and the leg muscles to try to push the lower back down. So you've got to be making sure that you can tell, not just verbally asking, but through manually kind of feeling things out and making sure that they're not cheating the movement. All right? So give it a shot. Try it. That's 1-2 punch to knock out low back pain. It will work. Just try it. Get it going. Get started. Try it on yourself as well. Let me know how it works, and I'll be back next time to talk with you again.